The art design of the Resident Evil franchise has varied vastly throughout the years, whether it be through the advancements in technology or the wide variety of games throughout the series. Capcom has always excelled in the art department, and now that we have multiple remakes, we are able to truly make direct comparisons. In this video, I will be discussing the art directions of both the original and remake of Resident Evil 3 and how they differed. The following art analyses are from 2 videos of mine where I reviewed the entirety of both games, and I've decided to put them together in one video for a more direct comparison, and for those like myself who love the artistic aspect of Resident Evil. So, with all said and done, let's compare the art design of Resident Evil 3, 1999, and 2020. I figured we'd begin this section with the thing I probably mentioned the most so far, and that is the environments. Taking place in Raccoon City, we travel through so many locations in this game, and they all have this really special atmosphere that I do kind of think has been lost over time. And don't get me wrong, I actually do like the energy and feeling that comes with the remakes and newer titles of this series, but it just isn't quite the same. Of course, some may say it could be whittled down to nostalgia, but I find that hard to be the case because I have found this vibe in newer titles of other franchises. For example, in my last playthrough of 2021's Final Fantasy VII, I remember feeling a very similar energy from its cities and unique environments. Between the colors and the unique city layout, the word I think best describes it is dreamlike. It doesn't feel like there's just props placed in front of me to try and make me believe I'm in a world that exists. Instead, it makes me feel like I'm in a unique, living, breathing world that has history and a lore. Traveling Raccoon City in this game makes me want to know more about the outbreak and its lore with Umbrella from the environments alone. Each still image presented to the player has so much detail packed into it and doesn't feel like I'm moving around in another New York type city. Something else that I find to be really interesting is despite how cozy these environments are, I was still nervous to enter each new section and turn the corners to find whatever might be lurking behind them. This feeling being added onto by its perfect synergy with the game's music and ambience. As you walk through the city, every single element of the sound design just fits so perfectly together between the howling wind, ambient music, and cawing of the distant crows. This is something consistently amazing in the original trilogy, highlighting the talent of the artists who worked on them. Just the subtle things like entering a room and only being able to hear the footsteps of what's lurking inside, or the music changing when Nemesis is nearby has a ton of impact even if you aren't directly aware of it. Speaking of Nemesis, I think now is a good point to move on to the characters of Resident Evil 3, starting with the bioweapon and main antagonist himself. Growing up and being much younger, even when I was faintly knowledgeable on the franchise, I always knew about Nemesis, being an extremely iconic character in the series. His build-up at the beginning of the game, from Brad's ominous warning and the cutscene for his first appearance, built a strong suspense. And even better, when you first encounter him, he delivers on all expectations. His design is a strong one and tells you everything you need to know about him. You see a tall, hulking monster in dark, lab-like clothing, and it all reads as unable to be contained and barely held together. The buckles all over him feel like constraints that emphasize his past as a lab rat, and the staples on his clothing and flesh feel like a brutal attempt at trying to stop him from falling apart. You can tell he isn't some random monster that just came to existence, but rather an experiment that was painfully morphed and created, perfectly aligning with the story. Nemesis truly is a terrifying force that stops at nothing to pursue you, making him very threatening indeed. But despite that, I personally always felt a bit of tragedy and sadness in his character. Onto the other enemy types in this game, they all show the same kind of thematic design choices, like the zombies and hunters showing deterioration on their bodies. Everything about them reads as unnatural and biologically malformed, which is exactly how it should read, resulting from the uncontrolled outbreak of the T-virus. Of course, while traversing through the streets, we also stumble across more special enemies, such as the Drained Amos, whose design I really like for a mutated creature, and the Gravedigger. I find this enemy to be kinda silly in its design, obviously being a bit similar to other biological things, but ultimately the uncomfortable feeling you get from looking at it certainly seems to be a bit intentional. As for the human characters in this game, I don't find them to be designed with particularly deep narrative intent, but that is not at all to say they are poorly designed. Starting with Jill, we see her in a more casual outfit, which does fit with the location of the game and screams late 90s, early 2000s. Capcom loved big brown boots on their female characters in this era of gaming, and whenever I see it, it's instantly recognizable. This outfit is iconic in the series, but honestly, I've always found her looks to be very memorable. On to Carlos, our second protagonist. We get the cocky, good-looking guy sporting his mercenary attire and rolled-up sleeves, once again being very reminiscent of the game's time. As per usual, Resident Evil loves having its attractive main characters, and I adore seeing them tied to their eras, eventually evolving as the years go on. Overall, the art design in Resident Evil 3 is both incredibly well done and charming. For people who refuse to play games based on older control schemes and dated graphics, I believe you are truly missing out on something special, and highly recommend that you step outside of your comfort zone to see it for yourself. The art direction of this game is something that will stick with me as an artist and longtime fan of the series. Finally, we have found ourselves at the art design portion of the video, and I have to say this is likely the most critical I will be of any Resident Evil thus far. When it comes to this series, its art direction has always been immensely inspiring to me, but this game falls disappointingly flat. Starting with the most heartbreaking redesign in this game is Raccoon City itself. In the original 1999 title, the surroundings had a beautiful energy that was both scary and surreal. That being because Raccoon City had a unique layout that didn't look like I was just going through the standard New York City you see in every other game. The original city had this incredibly unique blend of an American city that follows the layout and similarly structured alleys of Japanese towns. I absolutely loved this about the original, and with the remake it's made out to be much more generic. The lack of distinctive environments carries throughout the rest of the game, as I can't say any of its locations stood out to me. I will say though, to the 3Make's credit, that the problems I have with this game's locations wouldn't be as prominent if I wasn't making comparisons to the original. The original game had a super distinct art style that makes it stand out in a way that's hard to forget. It's unfortunate that this game removed two of my favorite locations from the original, being the clock tower and park, as I think it would have aided in giving this game something much more memorable. Onto a topic a bit more difficult to be lenient on is the lack of Raccoon City's atmosphere. There is straight up no ambient noise while walking through the streets, and that is an absolute crime. It was literally so quiet, I actually went into the menu to check if I accidentally had any of my sound sliders turned down, but I didn't. Hold on, is there no music? Dude, the ambience in this game sucks shit. In the original, the environments and sound design have incredible synergy, working together extremely well to create an immersive feeling of dread. You will not find that here in the 3Make, and this heavily impacts the feeling that Resident Evil 3 is supposed to have. Moving away from the environmental design, let's talk about the creatures. Resident Evil has always had amazing enemy designs, and this game is no different, for the most part. As per usual, the zombies look great from their small details and animations, and I can't express enough how happy I am with the Hunter's redesign. It's incredibly similar and recognizable to its previous designs, but looks much more like an intimidating bioweapon. Huge props to whoever did this redesign. The Drain Deimos follow closely behind, offering another really cool redesign that's disgusting, and I do love it. The only mob enemy type I really didn't care for too much was the Hunter Gammas. They're not particularly intimidating, and the rounded shape language and chicken wings don't really do it for me. But now, let's discuss Nemesis's redesign. A lot of people seem to love it, but I personally find it to be a big downgrade. I can't tell what it is about his silhouette, but it somehow feels more cartoonish than the original. Maybe it's his elongated thin head on top of his wide brutish stature that throws me off, but I find it difficult to take him seriously. His face sees a heavy redesign that I find to look kinda silly with his pushed in nose and overall facial structure. It keeps the same horribly disfigured look, but it doesn't feel as gruesome or uncontrolled like his original design. His outfit being scrapped and replaced with what looks to be garbage bags stapled together is an extremely odd design choice and makes his appearance look much more bland. I loved how his original outfit had an almost Frankenstein look, with the big staples being used to try and keep him contained, and ultimately, it just looks really cool. In both variations, it's easy to tell he's an experiment, but in his new look, his outfit comes off more like something that was just thrown on top of him instead of something that tells you about his volatile character. I really just find it difficult to understand how Nemesis's new look is so widely preferred. Back to the star of the show, we're gonna go over Jill's redesign. We see our first look at her new face model, and to be honest, every time they do this in the series, I think I actually get whiplash. I'm still scarred and will never forget the Chris incident from Resident Evil 7. Anyways, getting onto her new look, I'm a bit torn. They dropped her iconic outfit from the original and adapted an unfortunately bland tank top and jean combo. Realistically, it's a lot more practical for the situation, but it's still kind of a bummer to drop something so recognizable. I'm not sure if the design choice was made to be more realistic or for some odd censorship, but if it's the latter, I don't really see a tube top and skirt to be particularly promiscuous. The base outfit is just extremely generic and funnily enough plays into the new take on her character, so maybe it actually is a good character design. I mean seriously, I would have preferred they at least use her concept art design with the cargo pants because it would have been more interesting than plain jeans. I just find the outfit to be extremely uninspired and yet again another downgrade. As for Nikolai, Mikhail, and the other side characters, I don't have too much to say because they're all pretty much just wearing tactical attire and their designs all serve their purpose. Nothing stands out and there's nothing I'd really call poorly done. As for Carlos, I actually really like his redesign. I think there's some varied opinions on his new hairstyle, but I like longer hair on male characters and I think it's well done here. Oh, and it's a lot better than the short hairstyle they gave him with the classic look because that shit does not look right on top of his head. They kind of botched the classic outfits overall with this game and I have no intention of going anywhere near them. Ultimately, the art direction of this game is mostly a downgrade from the original, and while some may think I shouldn't be comparing this section at all, my points still mostly stay the same. So this has been my art analysis of both the original and remake of Resident Evil 3. You know, watching this my second time around, I do want to add onto my widely negative perspective on the 2020 rendition. While I do find it to be a major downgrade in just about all of its changes, I do want to make it very clear that in no way are my criticisms meant to personally attack the artists themselves. Art is a subjective thing after all, and even if many people may agree or disagree with my opinions, I'd be lying if I said they weren't extremely talented. I think the remake was a heavily misled project that failed to give the fans what we wanted, and the art design itself is the least pressing issue of that title. If you want to hear my full thoughts on either of these games, feel free to check out the full videos these analyses are from on my channel. With all said and done, let me know what you guys think about the changes made to Resident Evil 3's art direction. And if you want to show some extra love, you can check out my art through the links in my description. Until next time, thank you for watching.